really quick.
All right, my friends, we're here. It is 2025. We are on a mission. We're on a mission to get our PMPs in 2025. And I really appreciate you showing up. But I want to keep you grounded and centered. Having done this for going to 20 years now, this is going to be my 20th year of helping people on this exam. There are certain things that I need you to know. And one of the things I need you to know is that page we call page 25, right? I want to show you how I approach this page. First of all, at the top, you've got the process groups. I prefer eating mangoes chilled, initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling, and then closing. So my recommendation is that you daily do this. Livia was very correct when he said this requires repetition. If you are not repeating this on the regular, you're going to get there and then you're going to forget it. Now, while the exam is not rote memorization, a lot of the lingo, you have to know the lingo. And then you have to know where you are. One of my students, former military, he said, "Yeah, Phil, this reminds me of how they would drop us on top of a land that we've never been to, and then just by using the coordinates, you have to figure out where you are in the process." And I'm like, what a brilliant example. Yes, that's exactly how it is. The PMI, they're going to give you questions, and then you got to know, am I initiating or planning? Am I in executing? Am I in monitoring and controlling? Or am I in closing? When you understand where you are, it makes the question so simple that you get to the point you're not even thinking about it anymore. You know, oh, that's in planning. Reporting is not something I would do here. Oh, that's in executing. Developing a charter is the last thing I would do in executing. And you're able to see through the smoke and mirrors because PMI, their questions are really tricky in some instances. And if you've not done your homework with these 49 processes, then you are at a disadvantage. So what I need you to do on the regular, daily, if possible, is always go back to the drawing board and see if you remember the chipmunk mnemonic. I, integration, saw 6 chipmunks. Remember? I saw 6 schedule, cost, quality, resources. I'm going to move these around just so that I can have more space for all the 10. Quality. Come on, quality. Quality's being naughty. Okay, got to put it here. Quality, resources, and honestly, take a pen and paper, follow along because I'm doing it slow and steady, but I'm going to be explaining everything because whenever I speak to people that take the exam, it always boils down to this, folks. It always boils down to, yeah, there's Agile on the exam, but if you don't know your 49 processes, you could be hosed. And I keep getting that all the time. People keep telling me the 49 processes, they haven't gone away. PMI, they came out with the 7th edition, yes, but the 49 processes, it still takes the cake. So communications, risk, risk is big, procurements, and lastly, stakeholder. All right. You gotta know your 10 knowledge areas. 10 knowledge areas needs to be like breathing. It needs to just be second nature. This is what we do as PMPs, right? We are just supposed to have this hardwired. And honestly, I can tell you 20 years later, Whenever I go to companies to train, whether I'm in front of the FBI or in front of NASA, makes no difference. These people, they get this stuff because it's what project managers do. And you know this because you're a project manager as well. So it's very helpful when you can define what you're doing, okay? So the 5 process groups, the 10 knowledge areas, and now we're going into the process. But I want to show you how I have mastered the 49 processes using some intentional deliberateness and repetition. Okay, when it comes to the aspect of initiating, the first thing you do is develop the project charter. That has got to be hardwired into you, right? Develop the project charter. This is just the ABCs, right? And then the next thing you do in initiating is you identify your stakeholders. Identify stakeholders, right? Is that simple. Those are the 2 things you do in initiating. So if nothing else, get initiating down, right? The next way I would approach this is I would ask, what happens at the end? We close the project, okay? We close the project or phase. Boom. We gotten 2 out of 5. We got an initiating down, we got closing down. These are the only things that happen here. And I tell people this is your low hanging fruit. Get good with developing the charter, identifying stakeholders, and closing out the project or phase, because this could give you a massive payoff on the exam. Okay. The next thing that you need to master is in planning. There's a lot of repetition in planning, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So, in planning, one of the things that you see repeated a lot is the word plan. Watch this, plan X management. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller just so that it fits. And I'm going to show you how to use this Plan X management concept. Plan X management, Plan X management, Plan X management. And this one is engagement. This is the only difference. Now, let's go into each one at a higher level. Okay. So with this one, develop project charter for initiating, we got to remember that we also have something similar in planning. It's called develop project management plan. You know this. This is where we assemble all the plans. But getting into each area in planning, the X has to be replaced with the knowledge area name. So let me show you what we're doing in essence. We're taking this knowledge area name and we're putting it in here. So instead of X management, we're just going to take the knowledge area name like scope, and we're going to say plan scope management, plan schedule management, right? We're going to take the knowledge area name and it's going to become the X factor. So the way to remember this, my friends, replace X with the knowledge area name. Plan scope management. See that? Plan schedule management. Plan cost management. And this is just determine how you're going to manage costs. That's really what it is. Plan quality management, determine how you're going to manage quality, right? It's that simple. Plan resource management. Plan communications management. See? Plan risk management. And honestly, the best way to use your time in this session is to actually write these things down physically. It does help. Trust me, it does help. Plan procurement management. And lastly, plan, the X is stakeholder, plan stakeholder engagement. These are the high level names that come in every knowledge area: schedule, costs, quality, resources, communications, risk, procurement, and stakeholder. Okay? When you understand that there's a kind of framework that just repeats Planx management, it becomes easy to say, okay, I got a plan schedule management. What am I doing? Planning how to manage the schedule. I am not building the schedule yet. I'm just planning how I'm going to manage the schedule. Oh, I'm just planning how to manage cost. That needs to be the mindedness in all of this. Okay? The next part that you can get a huge bump of productivity on is when you take this same concept and move it to executing. So in executing, you know the word that appears the most in executing? It's the word manage. You see the word manage so many times. So there's direct and manage project work. There's manage, see, there's manage project knowledge. There is nothing for scope, schedule, and costs. There is a process with manage in resources. There is a process with manage in communications, and there is one in stakeholder. This is how you can kind of sketch out the framework without going into every single one of the 49, but you want to build a firm idea of the framework. And then filling in the blanks, the little gaps, is going to be easy. All right. So the first one here is direct and manage project work. That happens in integration. Then there's manage project knowledge. That is where you do your lessons learned and you collate all the information and so on and so forth. Okay. Then we have in resource management, there's something called manage team. This is where you are giving the team feedback and making sure everyone is aligned. In communications, there's manage communications, right? And then in stakeholder, there's manage stakeholder engagement. You see how I'm putting this together, my friends? I didn't get bogged down by all the other bits and pieces in planning. I know there's more in planning. There's 25 of them, 24 of them, but I'm not going to get bogged down with that. I just want the framework where there's commonalities first. Okay? The next thing we're going to do is sketch out the commonalities in monitoring and controlling. So in monitoring and controlling, guess the words. There is monitor and control project work. So the word control, you're going to find that word quite a lot in the monitoring and controlling aspect. See, you're going to find the word control over here. You're going to find the word control over here because it's control scope, there's control schedule, there's control cost, there's control quality. See that? There is control resources, there is control procurements, and there's three where we don't say control. We use the word monitor because there are humans involved in communication. We don't want to say we are controlling people's communication. So we use a softer word monitor. We don't want to say, oh, we got risks all under control. No, that's presumptuous. So we say monitor risk. And then we don't want to say we control our stakeholders' engagement. So we say we monitor it. We monitor it, and that's the word we use. So we have the word control a couple of times in integration as well. Honestly, when you look at these commonalities, this table becomes easy, right? So monitoring and controlling, we have monitor and control project work. And then we have perform integrated change control. You see the word control appearing there again? And here we have control scope. Here we have control schedule. And this just speaks for itself. Honestly, you can apply this to any project. Controlling scope just means preventing scope creep. Controlling schedule just means keeping the team on track. Control cost just means making sure you're not going over budget. Control quality just means you're doing an inspection, making sure before you ship out that product or before you implement that service, it is indeed fit for use. Control resources is all about the physical. This is not about the team. This is about the physical resources. Monitor communications just means ensuring that your communications plan is working, your actions to engage the stakeholders through communications is actually working. And then we have monitor risk, which just means making sure everything is what we thought it was. And if it changes, you update your risk register. Control procurement is ensuring that your contracts with these vendors are indeed going according to plan. You're getting what you paid for at the right time. And then monitor stakeholder engagement. Just making sure that your stakeholders are engaged. Boom! Count them. 1, 2, this is about 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Come on now. 29 out of 40, 49 are just rote. They're rote. They're things that you can just say plan X management, control X, right? I didn't really spell it out. This is really more of a control X or monitor X, right? Control X or monitor X. That's the mindset. So when you understand the key words in each aspect like this, so for executing, the word is manage, right? M for manage. For monitoring and controlling, the word is control or monitor. For planning, the word is plan, X management, plan. And then all you do is fill in the gaps. But instead of approaching the table just trying to aggressively cram everything from scratch, it might help you to understand plan X management, control X, and manage X, wherever you find the word manage. Now, how do we fill in the rest of these things? Okay, let's go over them one by one. We'll do them by knowledge area this time to fill in what is missing. Okay, so how do you fill in integration? Well, for integration, you got to ask the question, what is missing here? So in integration, we got develop project charter, we got develop project management plan, we got direct to manage project work and manage project knowledge, we got monitor and control project work and perform integrated change control and close project or phase. Boom, that's it. Integration is done. Next, we go into scope management. So scope management is a big one. We have a lot of things here, and I'm going to zoom in, and feel free to zoom in to your whiteboard as well. But we have plan scope management. Then we have collect the requirements. And then we have define the scope. So collecting requirements is creating a requirements traceability matrix that tracks requirements to their origin. Then we have define scope. This is where you list out the exclusions, the inclusions, and the detailed deliverable description. And then you have create the WBS, create the work breakdown structure. So those are the missing gaps in scope. But when you have at least an understanding of the first thing you do, plan X management, everything else becomes gravy. Then we go on down to the monitoring and controlling aspect. We have control scope, but before control scope, the PMI will list validate scope. So validate scope is where your customer, remember, validate scope. This is your customer checking the deliverable to make sure it conforms to their requirements and it's indeed what they want. That's validate scope. Control scope is where you're preventing gold plating. and when you're ensuring that whatever changes are coming are effectively controlled through a change control board, a CCB. Okay. All right, let's go on to schedule management. Schedule management, the first thing we do, we plan schedule management, and then we're going to define the activities. What needs to be done, a task list. We do this all the time. When you wake up in the morning, you're thinking, what do I need to do? What do I need to do first, next? Okay, need to walk the dog, need to come back, need to get ready for work. Those are activities. So you define the activities, and then everyone does this. This is so easy. This is every day. Everyone sequences activities. You don't eat dinner before you drive to work. Well, depending on the time of the day you're working. But if you're working in the morning, you're going to eat breakfast. Dinner's going to come later. So we are always sequencing the activities and we are always estimating the activity durations all the time. You're always saying, "Oh, how long is that going to take me?" You try to go to the post office during your lunch hour, and there's a crazy line, and you're estimating the duration. This is going to take upwards of 30 minutes. I'm going to reschedule. We do scheduling all the time. So when you approach this stuff, you got to approach it from a humanistic point of view. It becomes easy, right? After you've done all this, you really have developed a schedule. Do you know that? You've developed a schedule. A lot of people think that schedules need to be big. They don't need to be big. You can have a 5-line schedule, but you do all of this, okay? Coming over to this side, control schedule, we've already talked about that. That's where you're keeping the team on track and everyone's aware of when their task is coming up or you're seeing someone's task slip in. You got to have that conversation. That's control schedule. Let's go over to cost management. Cost management, the very first thing we have here is plan cost management. And that's step one. But we got to go beyond plan cost management to actually estimating the cost. So each line item, you got to ask, what does that cost me? And then you got to roll it up into a final total. We call that determining the budget. So it's not enough to say, oh, activity one is $10, activity two is $2 million. No, we got to roll them up and get a budget and get that final number. And that final number, you are going to do the control cost with it. This is where earned value comes in. And just in case you forgot about your earned value, there's certain metrics we talk about here. This is where we talk about the SPI, the CPI, the CV, the SV. These non-negotiable for your exam. You got to know them. Highly advise you spend some time knowing at least the basics. And we have more than enough videos about this on the Udemy course, so definitely watch those videos. All right, let's go to quality. What happened? Okay, quality. So in quality, we have plan quality management. That's planning how to manage quality. But we have manage quality. I forgot that one. Manage quality, of course. You see, I was thinking about a previous name we called it. That's why I didn't list it. So when you take a look, there's actually 30 items we had in the beginning that I just wrote. Manage quality. Yeah, the word manage, just slap that in front. Manage quality is more like quality assurance, making sure that the work is being conducted right. It's different from control quality, which is where we are actually checking the product. Okay. All right, for those of you who are just jumping in and just watching, whether you're watching now or after the fact, we're trying to get this concept down. 49 things that the PMI in the 6th edition told us about. They're also in process groups, a practice guide. And honestly, this is the holy grail of traditional project management. Anyone bringing anything else, they're lying. This is it, at least in the realm of the PMI. So we've done integration, scope, schedule, cost, quality, resources is next. So let's jump into plan resource management. Plan resource management is the first thing we do, and this is where we develop a resource management plan. We also have a team charter that's developed in this same process. But the other thing that we do here is we estimate activity resources. And all this means is you're taking a look at your project and saying, how many, how much, what skill set, what is the efficiency of the machines that we need. So you're looking at all the resources, human, equipment, material, supplies, facilities, and you're asking how many do we need? How much? How many do we need? What skill set? Oh, we need a developer, a junior one, a junior developer, a senior developer. Let's get really down to the nitty gritty of the skill set that we need. And then we move into the executing aspect. And in executing, the first thing we do is we acquire the resources. Acquire resources. That's step one. And step two, after you've acquired your resources, is to train them up, develop them, coach them, mentor them, send them for training as needed. And we call this develop team. So note that acquire resources refers to all manner of resources, human, equipment, material, supplies. Develop team is for the humans. Manage team is for the humans, right? We give the humans feedback. This is what I've observed. This is what we've observed. The team is performing well, or the team is not performing well. And as a result of the feedback you give in managed team, the team knows how to up their game. Or you could say, Phil, we sent you for anger management training. You've still been showing hostility to your fellow team members. You need to go back for training. So this is where you give feedback and then you determine the next course of action to help the team grow and develop and perform. And then control resources. This is very important. This is, I got to spell it out, not for human. We don't control people. So the PMI, they really want you to know this is about the physical resources. This is about the backhoe. This is about the server. This is about the cabling. This is not about the humans. We don't control people. At least we shouldn't. Some people do. All right. Now we're going over to communications. Communications is very straightforward. We've already got it down pat. You plan what you're going to communicate. Then you communicate. We call that managed communications. And then you monitor the communications, right? You ensure that the communication plan is working. Are people getting what they need as far as communications? Yes. Good. Keep doing what you're doing. Or if they're not getting what they need, do something different. Let's move on to the next one. So, taking a view of everything we've done so far, we don't have much left. We got just risk, one in procurement, and we're done. It's that simple. So let's go into risk management. So risk usually throws people off. There's a difference between planning the tools to use for your risk management versus actually using the tools. Plan risk management means you are planning what to use to manage the risk and how to manage the risk. When you understand how to manage the risk, then you begin to identify the risk. Identify risks. Put them in a risk register, right? In addition to identifying risks, you're going to perform a high, medium, low. Is this a high risk in terms of impact? Is it a medium risk? Is it a low risk? That's what we call qualitative risk analysis. And there are many ways you can do a qualitative risk analysis. My friends in the oil and gas realm, a lot of you have already started doing this on your projects. You've got a risk register, and then you've got that matrix where you're multiplying probability times impact. Probability on a scale of 1 to 5 is a 4. The impact on a scale of 1 to 5 is a 3. 4 times 3 is 12. And that enables you rank the risks. So that's qualitative. Quantitative is different. Quantitative is more about the dollars or the specific resource hours that you're going to have to pay if that risk should occur. So we do a perform quantitative risk analysis and say, oh, wow, if that happens, that's going to cost us an additional 10,000 man hours. And the probability of that happening is a 50. So you can say, okay, 50,000 contingency reserve is needed because probability 50 times impact 10,000. Just budget or plan for that in terms of man hours. but you can also do it in terms of dollars. Let me give you a quick reminder of what this looks like. So we say for qualitative, it's probability rating times impact rating. And depending on the scale, if the impact scale is 1 to 5, we can say probability rating, we can say, okay, it's a 4, impact rating is a 3. And mind you, all of these are very well defined in project management. The probability rating and the impact rating in terms of severity, all of that should be defined for you. So someone on your team should know, oh, we make it a 4 if it's a high probability, like we're 80% sure. The impacts, we make it a 3 if it's going to change our schedule by 25 or 30%. We make it a 3 in terms of impact if it's going to impact our cost. And you're very specific. And at the end of the day, we call this a risk score. And your risk score is going to be a 4 times 3, right? That's qualitative. And qualitative is all about the risk score. Qualitative risk score. Qualitative risk analysis is all about the risk score, and this is a 12. So you do this for all your risks, and you use this to rank the risks. That's qualitative. So that's just one of the very many things you do in risk. But you can also have the quantitative approach. Quantitative, what do? We use EMV, expected monetary value. And EMV is probability times impact, right? But it's probability in dollars times impact. Oh, I beg your pardon. Probability in percent times impact in dollars. Okay. So assuming you're looking at a risk and maybe there's a 30% chance of a risk and a 1 million impact. Your expected monetary value, also called risk magnitude, is going to be equal to 30% times the 1 million. But bear in mind that to simplify it, it's 0.3 times 1 million. And that's going to be equal to 300,000. So it is not uncommon to have rationalizations like this baked into a question. They may not even be asking you about the EMV. They may just be asking you a question related to EMV, but you got to understand the difference between qualitative and quantitative. Okay? All right, let me put these by the side and let's go back into where we were. So I really wanted you to get a clear idea of the difference between qualitative and quantitative. Now we've done that, let's talk about the plan, risk, responses process. And the reason why I'm going in on risk is it's a beast. It's very big. It's 7 things. So with plan, risk, responses, chat into me. I know you've been on holidays, but I want to know the 5 risk responses for positive. Put them in the chat for me and do the same. I want to know the 5 risk responses for negative. I know you can do this. Should I give you a clue? For the positive, it's for the positive, it's easy. And for the negative, it's A team. There you go. Mark remembers it's A team for the negative. All right. So what are the 5 for the positive? Who could tell me? Help me, someone. Let's see if those brain cells are working. Okay, come on now. What is the first E for positive? Throw me any E that you remember. Let's see if it works. Thank you, Thelma. That is very correct. Escalate. Escalate is a good one for positive. Yeah. We found an opportunity, boss. We don't know what to do with it. It's beyond my pay grade. Help me. That's what you're doing there. That's escalate. Thank you. Then we have accept. Very good. Okay. Escalate, accept. Uh-huh. What is the S? Come on now. You know what that is. That's an easy one. S is easy. If you're not a greedy person, you do that one all day long. What happens when your hungry sibling asks you for food? Yes, thank you, Thelma. You share, you share the food. Maybe. Depends, but yeah, share. And what are the last two E's? Come on now. There's a couple of E's. Come on now. What is the most aggressive of the E's? Where you ensure you aren't taking no prisoners, we're winning this contract. There's no way we're losing. This opportunity, we are going to, what is the E? Okay, I'll help you out. Exploit. Exploit. When you exploit an opportunity, you are 100% in it to win it. You're doing everything possible to ensure that that positive risk does happen 100%. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And then we have another E, which is a milder version, enhance. So you wouldn't eliminate a positive risk, you would exploit it. You want it to happen. So the mindset needs to be, yeah, this is 100% going to happen. Yes. So that's for positive risk. So we've got enhance is where you increase the probability or impact of a positive risk occurring, but you're not being as aggressive as exploit. Exploit is super aggressive. You're putting your best people, all your resources that you can to ensure that that positive upside risk 100%. There is no way we're not going to win this contract. There's no way that we're not going to win this additional business. That's exploit. Enhance is, oh well, let's make some efforts to get this business, but it's not as aggressive. It's not 100% guaranteed in your mind's eye. Exploit is. So the word eliminate comes into play with the negative. So now we're going to talk about the negative risks. All right. So let's do this over here and let's talk about the negative. And I'm going to make the negative a different color for emphasis. All right. Who remembers 18? Come on now. You got to remember this. You do this every day. You're driving down the freeway, you meet a crazy in the street. What are you going to do when you meet a crazy? A, what do you do? Tell me the A word. You meet a crazy person. Thank you, Jamie. You avoid. You meet a crazy person, you avoid. And then what happens? If you're working on, let's say, a home building project and there's a risk and you have a mortgage, yeah, they want you to purchase something. Yes, insurance. And thank you, Mark. That is transfer. Yes. Insurance is a good example. Thank you. I see another one from Mark. Mark is on fire on this one. This is escalate. Yes, we also escalate negative risks. And I see another one. Thank you, Mark. There's mitigate as well, which is a reduction. Thank you, Thelma. Mitigate and accept. You got it. So let's put accept in there. Accept is doing nothing, and mitigate is a reduction of probability and or impact. Five. And guess what? On the exam, they're going to paint a picture and say, this is happening on the project. What should Jamie do? Should she avoid? Should she transfer? And some risks you can't avoid, right? Some you can mitigate. Some it would make more sense to transfer, especially if you can get insurance or performance bonds or things like that. And that, my friends, is what you do in plan risk responses. We spend a lot of time talking about just planning the responses, but I know that the PMI back in the day and even currently, they are very fond of these. So when you get your response, the next thing you do is you implement it. Implement risk responses. And implement risk responses is where you take that plan to avoid or escalate or transfer and you actually do it. I'm really impressed. You folks remembered quite a number of them. Very well done. Good job. See, you didn't forget everything. You still got a lot of it left from the holidays. Okay. The next thing that we're going to talk about is procurement because implementing risk responses is just second nature, and monitor risk is where you're checking to see has anything changed? Do we have some new risks? And you know, a lot of project managers they make this mistake. They don't monitor risk with the team. They're like, oh, let's just have the meeting and leave. No, you should talk about risk as a team and say, is there anything new? You know, one of the things I like about what they do in your firm, some of you, is you have those safety moments or what do you call them in your company where you take a moment out in the beginning, you got different names for it, but we take a time out and we talk about things we might have seen that are risky and say, hey, beware, you might want to be aware of this. Someone had a fall or equipment fell and narrowly missed someone, so beware. Toolbox talk, thank you. Things like that. That's what I'm talking about. That's really a form of monitor risk. Safety moments, thank you. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So we should be monitoring risk and updating our risk register at all times. And if the probability rating or the impact rating changes, we should be updating that at all times. Okay. And if an event occurs which we didn't see coming, we should alert people in our lessons learned. We should have like a workaround where we think on our feet and find a solution. All right, let's go to procurements in the interest of time. All right, so we plan procurement management and then we conduct is the word procurements. And conduct procurements just means we are selecting a seller or sellers and control procurements means after we've selected the seller and awarded the contract and conduct procurements, control procurements is where we need to ensure that the contract is going according to plan, there's no deviation. If there is, we need to have a conversation. If they're going to be late, we need to have a conversation. And this is where we also have these what should I call them? Claims administration. If there's any claims from either party, it needs to be discussed and ironed out. Last one, my friends, is stakeholder. We're going to identify the stakeholders. We're going to plan how to engage them. Does anybody remember any of the documents that we use to plan our stakeholder engagement? Don't tell me stakeholder engagement plan. Tell me something different. What do we use to plan our stakeholder engagement? Throw me anything you remember from stakeholder. X and Y axes. What's that? What's the stake?
That's racy chat.
Racy chart is responsibilities, uh, responsibility, accountability. No, I'm mixing them up. What is the racy
Uh,
again?
uh,
Authority,
responsibility as no.
accountability,
Oh,
and
accountability,
and
consulted and informed.
there you go. Very good. So that is one way we can actually get more skin in the game. Thank you. The racy chart is a good one. But what is the traditional one that we talk about in stakeholder exclusively? Because you know the racy chart belongs more to the realm of resources and
Interest,
thank you. You got it.
interest, interest.
What's the first word? Who can help him? Help Mark out. What's the P word?
Uh, power and
Thank
interest
you. The
matrix.
power
Yeah.
interest grid, the influence impact grid. Oh, thank you, Jamie. Yeah, good stuff. Good, good. I'm trying to push it a little bit here to get you to remember. Then we have managed stakeholder engagement where you are communicating with a stakeholder, you're working with them, you're getting them engaged. And you know the signs of a disengaged stakeholder. One of the things that I was looking for in planned stakeholder engagement is the seam. Who remembers the seam? Come on now. I think Jamie remembers that one. Jamie remembers everything. Jamie, what is the seam? Do you remember the seam? Who remembers the seam? SEAM. What's that? Come on now. I know you didn't leave that in your Christmas present. Someone remembers that. Why don't you GPT it? Those of you AI fanatics. I know Thelma is an AI fanatic. Thelma, good. GPT, Gemini it. Gemini it and tell me what is. Let's see how intelligent Gemini is. Gemini, what does SEAM stand for? Come on now. Someone's got to remember that one. That's PMI Holy Grail. The seam. Yeah. What is the seam?
So from what I have here, it says that is a systematic enterprise architecture methodology.
It's not true. It's not true. It lied to you. It lied.
That is
AI
what
lied.
ChatGPT said.
AI, oh, GPT lied. Do you know what? Say S stands for stakeholder and see what it tells you. S stands for stakeholder. What does C mean? Let's see how intelligent it is. Because maybe we need to fire GPT today. Hey, Sam Altman, this thing's broken. Its brain isn't working properly. Let's see if it can get back on track. I've had this conversation with GPT. It should know it. Did it give you anything good? Okay. Let's see if our brains can work better than GPT. Stakeholder. Did it tell you? What did it tell you? Unmute yourself, Thelma.
Okay, now it says stakeholder expectations and alignment methodology.
Wow. What a big made up story.
Um,
So SEAM stands for stakeholder engagement. Come on now. Who remembers?
um,
Stakeholder engagement, assessment. Oh yeah, the holidays done something to us. Stakeholder engagement assessment matrix. I'm just trying to push my luck here. Stakeholder engagement assessment matrix. Okay. Now, folks, I want to show you how you can use GPT since we're on that GPT discussion. I want to show you how you might be able to use GPT productively for this. Okay, you with me? Take a look. See what I'm about to do. See what I'm about to do. I'm going to take this. I'm going to do a print screen. Okay. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to put it in the chat for you folks so that you got a PNG of it. Let me send it to you. Okay. And then watch this. I'm going to go to ChatGPT. And we've actually done this exercise before. You may not remember. But I'm going to go to ChatGPT and I'm going to tell it this. Let's go to GPT over here. GPT, come on. Here we go. Okay. So look at what I'm about to do. I'm going to say, create a list of all outputs generated. Let's make this bigger so you can see it. Generated from these processes with a high level explanation like project charter, stakeholder register, and show me where each comes from. Then I paste in my picture, hit enter, and sit back and let GPT teach me. Now, you got to fact check it because sometimes it makes up stories, but for the most part, it looks like it's getting it, right? Project charter, project management plan, deliverables, right? Tangible or intangible products, work performance data. It's doing a good job. And this is one of the ways you can use ChatGPT to bring that table to life. Because that table is all well and good, but if you don't understand what you're getting from each process, you haven't finished the study session. The study session needs to end with you truly understanding what you get. Okay, put this into a docx and fact check whatever it gives you, but I'm going to download the docx and then I'm going to put it in the chat just as a reminder. I don't want you to just use mine. I want you to actually do it for yourself. So for each one of those, you can use GPT to mine deeper into each of the 49 processes. You can get some amazing insights by just on your phone. Like I've got it on my phone. Like a lot of people say, Phil, I don't have my pen book. I can't study. You don't need your pen book to study anymore. Don't be ridiculous. You got GPT, you got Gemini. GPT is more reliable because the PMI has also worked, with these people to get the PMI's own GPT version. So ChatGPT knows a lot about project management, so much about project management. So that would be my advice. Okay. I am going to go ahead and put what I've downloaded from my GPT into the chat. And this is step one towards your getting back on track. You got to get back on track by knowing the 49 processes and really absorbing them. And while Agile is great and very important, we got to attack this first because this is the beast that has been hanging over our heads for a very long time. So I really need you to know your 49 processes and then we can have some higher level discussions. So between now and next week, what I'm looking for you to do is knuckle down on the 49 processes. The other thing that I need you to do all throughout this week is I need you to go to your project management doctor site, which you all should have access to from our class. I need you to go in there and here's a quick reminder of what is in there because this is going to help you organize your studying. Okay, so when you go into project management doctor, you see my scores. I need you to make sure all of these say everywhere from 70, 90, 80, but all these ones, like these ones I failed, I got to click on the ones I failed and I got to retake the quiz. Boom, I can retake it. And just remember when you get done with every quiz, it's not just about doing the quiz, it's about understanding why you got the answer right or wrong. So when you submit, just remember this is step one, and it's not about the score. Okay, I got a 0. What am I going to do about it? I'm going to review the answers and I'm going to hyper focus on why I got them wrong and I'm going to close the gaps and then I'm going to move to the next one. And that needs to be your MO. You need to do it, go back to the drawing board, check why you got it wrong, leave it for a few days, go back, rinse, repeat, make sure that you truly understood why you got everything wrong or right. Okay? With that said, my friends, I want to respect time about a minute over. I want to go ahead and stop the recording. And if there are any questions, I want to answer those questions. But make sure you study that page, right, with all the processes. Come back next week knowing it. Those of you who have your exams coming up in Q1, you got to know that stuff. And then next week, we're going to address the world of Agile. So I need you to really get this one down pat so we can build on it, go into the world of Agile next week. But before then, I also need you to be hitting the project management site with all of the quizzes. You got about 40 to 50 quizzes and mock exams. Rinse, repeat, take them relentlessly, be a savage, and before you know it, you're going to be a PMP. All right, my friends, thank you very much. I'll go ahead and stop the recording.